Small. Wow, tiny.
You are currently listening to Tiny Table,
where we explore TTRPGs you might not have heard of.
Whether big or small, we hope to cover them all.
Because we know that great things can come in tiny packages.
Good evening, kindred. This is Skyler, and the following episode is our rules rundown for Vampire: The Masquerade, version 5. If you already feel experienced enough to run your own Masquerade without any breaches, then feel free to stalk your way down to the actual play episodes. However, if it's your first time, you need a refresher, or you'd simply like to join yours truly for some spooky rules reading, then climb into your most comfortable coffin, grab yourself a glass of some not-so-mysterious dark red liquid, and we'll give you all you need to know. Vampire the Masquerade will drag you to hell and scream with you as you fall. This modern gothic horror game will appeal to fans of Interview with the Vampire, The Crow, and What We Do in the Shadows. The hierarchies of the old world are pulling apart at their bloody seams. The few elders who remain gorge themselves on fledgling vampires to resist a preternatural call. World governments vie together in secret to root out the kindred in their midst. Camarilla princes and anarch barons alike must contend with threats from all sides. For you and your coterie, there's never been a better time to rise through the ranks. On a night like this, the street where you live, the kindred haunt the night. Until their hunger is sated, our story shall not end. Call what damnable hunt you will, for tonight, the world is dark, and the blood flows like wine. What you'll need. Vampire the Masquerade is a game for 3 or more players, one of whom runs the game as the storyteller. We recommend all players read the core rulebook before play, though, at a whopping 433 pages, we understand if you want to start with the essentials. For players, read the following chapters in full: Kindred Society, Rules, Characters, and Vampires. When creating your character, you'll skim the clans and discipline sections, but you only need to read the abilities and clans relevant to your character, at least to start. In addition to these readings, storytellers should also read the Who Are They segments at the start of each clan chapter, along with the Cities and Chronicles chapters. As your chronicle grows and your gameplay expands, you can return to the Advanced Systems and Tools chapters to learn more about the deeper systems of play. Games of Vampire the Masquerade run best in a format of a chronicle, an evolving story of a coterie of vampires and the drama they shape. An average session of Vampire will usually run from 3 to 4 hours, and a chronicle may be composed of anything from a few sessions to over 100. Character and coterie creation is a long and involved process, so we recommend taking your session 0 to work together on your coterie, finalize your character prep, and ensure all players are on the same page for the themes of the chronicle at hand. This session of coterie creation will also forge the relationship map, which both the storyteller and players will rely on to track the various characters and factions at play. If you don't know what scenario to start with, and everyone is new to the game, a great first scenario is the Night of the Embrace. What is your character's first night like as a vampire? To play Vampire the Masquerade, you will need a copy of the core rulebook, some pens and paper, and a collection of D10s. Vampire the Masquerade can be purchased as a PDF or physical copy at renegadegamestudios.com/PDF-vampire-the-masquerade, or physically at your local game store. This series focuses on the 5th and current edition of Vampire the Masquerade, though there are multiple editions worth exploring. Check out the 20th Anniversary Edition if you want a lore-rich and mechanically dense experience, or play the Revised Edition if you want a hue closer to the 90s design sensibilities that define the game's early versions. All of this fits into the broader world of Darkness, an interconnected set of games that focus on everything from werewolves to changelings to the human hunters who want them dead. Before we continue, a brief content warning. Vampire the Masquerade is a modern gothic horror game. As such, it deals with heavy, dark, and disturbing themes. Your table's chronicle will be guided by tenets that punish characters for transgression with stains. But above these, your group should be vocally aware of each other's boundaries and limits for subject matter. Unavoidable themes in the work include murder, violence, blood, coercion, and exploitation. Common themes to encounter include sexual violence, religious extremism, hypnosis, disability, self-loathing, suicide, substance abuse, cults, state violence, and isolation. In our own play, Episode 1 includes depictions of a vampire feeding, a drug overdose, and a brief description of pornography. Episode 2 includes more detail of this pornography, and ends in a graphic scene of multiple murdered victims. Episode 3 opens on this same murder scene and includes a violent vampire feeding scene and corpse mutilation. Episode 4 includes brief implication of incest. At time of recording, episodes 5 and 6 have not been recorded. Their content warnings will be added to this episode's description once they are detailed. Preparation. The preparation for a game of Vampire the Masquerade differs between the storyteller and the players. While the storyteller prepares the circumstances, themes, and inciting incidents of their chronicle, the players will prepare their kindred characters, both individually and as a coterie. Before either side dives into their development, we recommend taking a session 0 to get everyone on the same page for themes, settings, and do's and don'ts for your table. The horror of Vampire the Masquerade can range widely depending on the setting, characters, and scope. Take some time up front to discuss soft limits, hard lines, and expectations of play. We recommend all players read the third appendix, Advice for Considerate Play, which can be found on page 421. Now, let's start with the character preparation. To begin, think on who your character was in life before they were turned. Where and when were they embraced? How long have they been kindred? This all begins by selecting your clan and describing your sire, the vampire who turned you. The full list of clans begins on page 63. Are you a bestial gangrel, a sneaky Nosferatu, or a high society Ventru? Each clan chapter provides information on the clan's nature, along with a list of disciplines and banes that define them. With your clan and sire selected, it's time to assign your attributes and skills. There are 3 physical attributes, strength, dexterity, and stamina, 3 social attributes, charisma, manipulation, and composure, and 3 mental attributes, intelligence, wit, and resolve. Across these 9 attributes, you will assign 1 a score of 4, 3 of them a score of 3, 4 of them at 2, and your worst attribute at 1. From these attributes, you calculate your health and willpower. Health is equal to your stamina score plus 3. Willpower is the sum of your composure and resolve scores. Skills are assigned in a similar manner to attributes, but unlike attributes, you only have points in some skills. Pick a skill distribution that suits your character, referencing the options on page 136. Certain skills, like academics and craft, allow you to pick a specialty when you take them. Now that the trivialities of your humanity have been dealt with, your kindred unlife awaits. Select 2 disciplines from your list of clan disciplines. These supernatural abilities distinguish your vampire mechanically from their peers. Is your kindred of voyeuristic auspex, able to scry the unseen world or receive premonitions? Do they dominate mortals and kindred alike with clouded memories or submerged commands? Does their unnatural potence let them leap and hang from the bare ceiling? One of your 2 disciplines will get 2 dots, letting you select 2 powers, and the other will receive only 1 of each. You can select powers with level equal or less than your rank in the discipline. From there, select your predator type from a list on page 175. Your character's predator type determines how they feed and on whom. Predator types also provide an additional skill specialty, an additional discipline dot, and some advantages and flaws. You'll proceed to assign 7 additional points of advantages and 2 points of flaws for your character. The massive list of advantages and flaws begins on page 179. These can provide mechanical elaboration on everything from your character's looks and feeding habits to broader backgrounds like their allies, contacts, and personal haven. Take some time to trawl the list for traits that look relevant to your character concept. Since this is the final individual step for character creation, it's also a great time to start crafting your coterie with your fellow players. The coterie is a thread that links the players' kindred together. Each gathering of vampires is unique, but some common coterie types are listed on page 197. Perhaps you all form a maréchal, acting as servitors and guardians for your prince or baron. Perhaps you are Kestari, a band united by great grim enterprise. In our own play, our kindred are members of a Vem, a primogetic secret society who maintain the Masquerade by subduing those who deviate. You can create a coterie that's wholly unique, or select one of these evocative listings. Each player contributes 1 point to the coterie pool, a budget of points to select various advantages and flaws for your coterie. If you select from a pre-written coterie, subtract its list of traits from the budget of your coterie pool. Players may also choose to contribute their personal advantage points towards the coterie pool. The group must then decide the age of their coterie, selecting the generation of kindred life. Play as Childer for a game about new kindred in a rapidly changing world. Play as Neonates for a game about power jockeying in hotly contested territory. Play as Ancily for a peek at the thrones that the elders have left vacant. Consult the table on page 151 to learn how many additional skills and attributes older vampires receive, along with how much humanity they lose. See the Humanity section on page 236 to learn how your kindred's remaining humanity keeps the beast at bay, and what limitations they experience as their tether to their mortal life wanes. As you create your characters and flesh out the supporting cast, the table will work together to create the relationship map. This map, ideally a physical piece of large paper kept at the table, charts the web of relationships between all the characters. During Session 0, all players write their characters' names on the map and draw lines to 2 other player characters, marking each arrow with either a positive or negative relationship statement. The map is then elaborated with each kindred character's sires, connections in their sect, and any touchstone characters introduced during character creation. Don't worry if the map gets messy fast, that's the point. The lives of vampires are grisly, tangled things. You never know when the buddy from your sect will come face to face with one of your human touchstones. The relationship map will, in turn, provide the storyteller the cast of characters they need to weave a compelling opening scenario. As the storyteller, look over the relationship map as your players finish their character sheets. Ask yourself, which of these threads am I most excited to tug on? Pick a character from the map, then give them a problem that intersects with a different part of the web. Peruse the robust lore entries in the Kindred Society chapter on page 47, pick a clan or topic that excites you, and decide on a unique angle from which drama can spring forth. Good questions to ask as a storyteller are, who makes the rules? Who enforces them? Who breaks them? And who stands to gain? Political complexity can seem difficult to run from afar, but if you've got a high-ranking vampire, a group of aspiring upstarts, and a loose thread from the fabric of Kindred Society, then you've got everything you need to start your own chronicle in Vampire the Masquerade. Modes of play. Games of Vampire the Masquerade play out across 3 types of scenes: Spotlight, Abstracted, and Downtime. Spotlight scenes zoom into the full detail of a scene, allowing for full dramatic impact. Abstracted scenes play out the high notes, usually beginning in media res and ending once the outcome is clear. Downtime scenes are brief narrations that detail the scope of a dramatically unimportant event, such as travel, waiting, or anything for which the outcome is a foregone conclusion. Across these various forms of scenes, the degree to which the table utilizes the storyteller dice system can be mapped onto 4 modes of play: freeform, directed, punctuated, and dice detailed. Freeform play avoids rolling entirely. The players create the fiction improvisationally. The storyteller resolves conflict based on the number of dots in one side or the other's relevant scores, or simply deciding based on dramatic necessity. Directed freeform play begins the scene with a single relevant die roll determined by the storyteller, and then proceeds otherwise diceless with the extemporaneous roleplay of the players dictated by the outcome of the opening roll. Punctuated freeform introduces single die rolls whenever a dramatic turn or major conflict occurs in the scene. Roleplay is freeform until the storyteller calls for dice rolls. Dice detailed play focuses in on moment-to-moment action and uses dice rolls frequently. This is most often used for scenes of focused conflict, such as a physical brawl, a dynamic chase, or an intense political repartee. So, how do these roles function? This brings us to the core mechanism of Vampire and other World of Darkness games, the storyteller system. When the storyteller calls for a roll of the dice, they will most often call for a simple test, prompting a combination of attribute and skill. For example, a test of charisma plus intimidation means that a player will roll a number of d10s equal to the sum of their charisma and intimidation dots. Each die, which rolls a 6 or higher, counts as a single success. The total number of successes in a roll is compared to a difficulty rating set by the storyteller on a scale from 1 to 7. If the roll beats the difficulty, the character accomplishes their stated intention. Otherwise, they fail, and usually face consequences for falling short. When rolling, pay special attention for any dice that rolls a 10. If you get 2 10s in a single roll, it's a critical success, which counts as 4 successes between 2 dice. This counts for as many pairs of 10s as are rolled. A roll of 4 dice with 4 results of 10 counts as 8 successes. After rolling, players who have come up short can spend a willpower to re-roll up to 3 dice of their choice, possibly turning failure into success. If your character is opposed in their efforts, the test becomes a contest. Contests operate like tests, but instead of one player rolling against a preset difficulty, the player rolls against the result of another character, be they PC or SPC. Both parties assemble their respective dice pools, roll them, and whoever rolls the most successes wins the contest. In case of a tie, the contest's initiator wins the exchange. Contests that pose risk of damaging another, physically or mentally, are conflicts. The basics of conflict can be found on page 124, with expanded rules for in-depth conflict starting on page 295. In a round of conflict, all players state their intentions for this turn, and the storyteller does the same for all SPCs. Once all intentions are claimed, dice pools are built at the storyteller's prompting, and conflicts and tests are rolled. In a physical fight, the order of resolution begins with anyone already engaged in melee combat, followed by ranged attacks, followed by newly initiated melee, followed by everything else. If 2 characters are mutually trying to harm one another, the actions of both parties are merged into a single conflict roll. The winner of the contest deals an amount of damage to the loser equal to their margin of success. On a tie, each deals 1 damage to one another. Physical damage increases further based on the weapons used, see page 304, while social damage increases based on the audience or witnesses, see page 305. Now, if you are playing a normal human, that would be all you needed to engage with the storyteller system. But in Vampire, the Masquerade, your kindred's actions will always be tainted by their hunger. Your character's hunger ranges from 0, meaning they are fully slaked, to 5, meaning that they are ravenous for blood. Hunger has the chance to increase each sunset when your kindred rises, as well as any time they utilize their supernatural disciplines and vampiric powers. These possibilities are answered with a rouse check, a roll of a single d10. On a 6 or higher, your kindred's hunger stays as it is. On a 5 or lower, their hunger increases by 1. Roll a rouse check each time your kindred uses their gifts of blood. These abilities include the Blush of Life, which allows your kindred to appear living, eat, have sex, and use smartphone touchscreens. Blood Surge, which grants additional dice before a roll is made. And Vampiric Mending, which accelerates the healing of health damage. The various discipline powers of your kindred's clan will also often call for at least 1 rouse check, but be warned, your kindred can only attempt to rouse if they are below hunger level 5, and hunger can only be lowered by feeding on blood. Animals, blood bags, sips from humans let you live. All of these can slake a point or 2 of hunger, but only draining a human dry can bring a kindred's hunger down to 0. See the chart on page 211 for more information about slaking hunger. Hunger manifests mechanically as hunger dice. Whenever a kindred builds a dice pool, they replace a number of their dice with special d10s equal to their current hunger score. Ensure these d10s are visually distinct from your standard ones. On any result between a 2 and a 9, hunger dice function identically to its standard counterparts. But when they roll 1s and 10s, hunger dice lead to unique outcomes. When a hunger die contributes to a critical success, that critical becomes a messy critical, meaning that the PC still gets 2 extra successes, but at a steep cost. Your kindred gives into a compulsion, breaches the Masquerade, or gains a stain that threatens to lower their humanity. If a roll fails, and any hunger dice have rolled a 1, failure becomes bestial failure. The kindred fails to complete their intended action, and the beast forces them to act on a compulsion, hemorrhage with bloody sweat, or even gain more hunger. Messy criticals and bestial failures lead to some of Vampire the Masquerade's bloodiest and most exciting moments, and they aren't easily avoided. The final twist for hunger dice is that they cannot be re-rolled with willpower, meaning that the hungrier kindred becomes, the more they fall under the persistent control of the beast. This reaches its height in moments of frenzy. When hunger, fury, or terror snap the leash that holds the beast at bay, your kindred is no longer their own. A vampire in frenzy is controlled by the storyteller until the frenzy abates, and only a difficult willpower roll can keep your kindred under control. When you encounter a moment that would provoke your kindred into a frenzy, you can resist or ride the wave. To resist, roll a pool of dice equal to your willpower plus 1/3 of your humanity score. Page 220 has example difficulties to roll against for moments of fury, hunger, or terror. If you resist, the beast is suppressed for the moment. If instead you choose to ride the wave, you maintain narrative control of your kindred as you describe the heinous acts their beast pursues. At the end of it all, they'll likely endure a stain for the harm they've caused. If allowed to accumulate, stains threaten to lower the humanity of a kindred. See the rules on the humanity track on page 239 to learn about the long-term arc of your vampire's degeneration into bestial hunger. If your chronicle lasts long enough, you may one day witness your character's wassail, the final frenzy that leaves your kindred in empty white, puppet of the beast, and no longer a playable character. A wassail is a scene of violence, tragedy, and grandest finale, a fitting end for a world of darkness. Legal. Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition is developed and designed by Kenneth Haidt and Kareem Muammar, with system design from Carl Bergstrom, creative directive from Martin Erickson, and produced by Jason Carl. It is published, owned, and copyrighted by Paradox Interactive, AB, all rights reserved. This podcast is based on the following game content created and owned by Paradox Interactive: Vampire the Masquerade, Core Rulebook, Second Printing, 2002. Available at https://renegadegamestudios.com/pdf-vampire-the-masquerade. Tiny Table is an independent production by Tiny Table LLC. Now with that, you've got everything you need to play a game of Vampire the Masquerade. Pop a bottle of red wine, dress in all black, and start blasting the Crow soundtrack. You and your coterie are in for one hell of a chronicle on a night like this.
Hi, and thank you for listening to our podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, then we'd really appreciate if you left us a review. If you really like what we do here and want to support us further, you can join us at patreon.com/tinytablepodcast. Our business email is also open for inquiries at tinytablebusiness@gmail.com, and all of our socials can be found in the episode description for any shenanigans you might want to follow. Till next time, see ya!